Welcome to Storyflix. In this video, we will explain First Kiss. This movie tells the story of an older woman who accidentally kisses a high schooler on a public bus. Unexpectedly, this accidental meeting between two human beings of different ages actually brings love. Will their love be easy and without obstacles? Let's find out in First Kiss. First Kiss tells the story of a 26-year-old woman named Sa. Every day, Sa works as an office worker who always relies on public buses as her transportation. She often makes an analogy between love and city buses. She thinks that love is like waiting for a bus. Sometimes what comes is not always what is expected, and when the expected comes, then some obstacles stand in the way. Because she always goes to work by bus. She is always waiting for the bus at the bus stop. Sometimes it's not the bus with the route that goes to her office, and when the right bus arrives, she has to jostle with other passengers who also want to get on the bus. The same analogy applies to Sa's love story. Sa recalled her past when she was in high school, where at that time she fell in love with her senior, a young man named Om. Sa doesn't dare express her feelings for Om and always looks at him from the science lab when he is playing basketball. She always felt her love one-sided. Especially when Om is dating another girl and decides to study abroad after graduating from school. Sa's first love did run aground, and not as she expected. However, life must go on. She decides to move to Bangkok, continue her education in college, and hopes that she can fall in love with another man one day. However, until she is almost 30 years old, she still can't find a soulmate and thinks that maybe she still loves Om deep inside and still hopes for him. One night, Sa is having dinner with two of his co-workers, Jane and Mam, where they are discussing their new manager who is rumored to be very handsome and sexy. Sa was very surprised when she found out that her new manager in her office was Om, her first love. Reuniting with Om, Sa begins to sink into her own fantasy, where she imagines herself and Om having dinner in a romantic atmosphere. How surprised she was when Om greeted her and interrupted her thoughts. With a shy attitude, Sa tries to open a conversation with Om and ask how he is. Sa seems happy to find out that Om doesn't have a girlfriend yet, and they exchange cell phone numbers for making communication easier. The next morning, Sa leaves for the office accompanied by Om. After getting out of the car, she realized that there was dog hair on Om's shirt. She then offered to clean the fur. However, Sa's actions are known by Jane and Mam, who think Sa and Om are kissing. When Sa arrived at her desk, they both interrogated her and asked if she and Om kissed. Sa didn't answer or deny it and just blushed. Jane then said that the first kiss was very meaningful because it would determine her future with her lover. Mam adds that if Sa's first kiss is successful, then it is likely that her relationship with her boyfriend will run smoothly. Long story short, after work, Sa returned to the bus as usual. She imagines that she and Om are alone in a romantic atmosphere where Om confesses his love for her and wants to kiss her. However, Sa's imagination was instantly shattered when the bus she was traveling in suddenly stopped due to an accident on the road. Sa was sitting by the window, trying to see what was happening outside, and found out that the accident was caused by a motorcycle hitting a minibus. Sa then turned to the side and accidentally kissed the lips of the passenger next to her who leaned in curiously to see the accident. The passenger was Bass, an 18-year-old boy who was still in high school. Both were shocked and looked at each other after kissing. Bass immediately covered his mouth, while Sa scolded the young man because she thought Bass had crushed her dream of a first kisses. Bass didn't understand why Sa was nagging him, and then he calling her aunt. Sa was even more annoyed, especially after Bass accused her that she had deliberately kissed him. Sa's annoyance peaked and furiously beat Bass with the folder she was carrying and her bag until she didn't realize that her cell phone had fallen. After arriving at the bus stop, she finally got off the bus and snorted angrily at Bass, waving and smiling mischievously at her. When she got home, Sa, who was still irritated, kept rubbing her lips as if she had dirt that couldn't be removed. After rummaging through her bag, she finally realized that her cell phone was missing. She tried to call her cell phone using a landline, and after connecting, she spoke in a polite tone and asked the person who found her cell phone to return her cell phone. However, how shocked she was when she found out that Bass was the one who had taken her cell phone that had fallen on the bus. Bass again asked why Sa kissed him, even though Sa had explained that it was an accident. They then argued because Sa accused Bass of stealing her cell phone. But Base denied it and said that she had dropped her cell phone. Sa then asked Base to return her cell phone. But Base didn't want to give it back as compensation because Sa had kissed him. Furious, Sa told Base that she should be the one asking him for compensation because he had stolen her first kiss. Base was very surprised when he found out that it was her first kiss and then asked Sa's age. But Sa did not want to answer and instead cursed him. Sa then threatened Base to come to school to get her cell phone, but Base instead challenged her to come to school and meet him. After that, Base hung up the phone and made Sa very upset. The next day, Sa actually went to Base's school and met the principal, saying that Base had stolen her cell phone. But Base denied it and said that Sa had dropped her cell phone. The principal then asked Base to return Sa's cell phone and after that gave him physical punishment so that he would not repeat his actions. Sa tried to stop her from doing so because it would be enough for him to return her cell phone. But the principal still insists on punishing Base. In the evening, Sa treats Base to dinner as an apology for him being punished by the principal because of her. An annoyed Base then mocked Sa by calling her auntie. But Sa said that she was not that old. Sa then gave Base herbal medicine for the youth's recovery due to corporal punishment from the principal. Base then asked how Sa knew his name and school. Sa replied that he had seen his name and school name on his school uniform. She then asked Base not to call her aunt anymore. But Base was confused about what to call Sa because she was older than him. Sa finally agreed when Base wanted to call her Miss because at least it was better than aunt. Not long after, Sa received a call from Om asking her to have dinner together at a Chinese restaurant. With a spoiled and gentle tone, Sa accepts Om's invitation and they arrange an appointment for tomorrow night. On the other hand, Base, who heard that Sa was going to have dinner with a man, then thought of spying on her. On the following night, Sa, who had arrived first at the Chinese restaurant, was very surprised to see Base, who was also there. They got into an argument before Sa relented and chose to sit in her place. Not long after, Om arrived there and went straight to Sa. On the other hand, Base apparently invites his two friends, Win and Ard, to accompany him to dinner while he spies on Sa and Om. After dinner, Om took Sa home. After Om left, Base suddenly came, handed Sa a flower arrangement and asked her to dress very pretty and accompany him to the cinema. Even though Sa initially refused, she couldn't refuse Base's invitation because he kept pushing her. Long story short, Base then picks up Sa at her house and is very surprised to see Sa's appearance, which looks like an ant. But Sa ignored Base's words and the two of them ended up going to the cinema. Arriving there, Sa was very surprised to see Om with Pam, his girlfriend during high school, where they seemed to be watching a movie at the cinema. Sa then cries seeing their closeness, and it hurts even more when Base says that Om and Pam are getting married soon. Base turns out to know Pam and Om and learns about their wedding plans from Pam. He didn't want Sa to feel disappointed and hurt by expecting Om. That's why he invites Sa to see how close Om and Pam are. However, Sa became angry, pushed Base and walked away, leaving Base crying. The next day, Sa told Jane and Mam everything. Sa looks so sad and disappointed that Om will soon marry another woman. She is then surprised by Base's appearance at her office, where Base pretends to be an office worker and invites Sa to lunch. Seeing Base's good looks, Jane and Mam were fascinated and asked him to take them to lunch too, and he didn't mind. While Base was fetching them drinks, Jane and Mam openly quipped at Sa for getting Om's replacement so quickly, even though Sa was still crying for Om. Sa then said that Base was just a friend and they met while traveling on the bus some time ago. However, Jane and Mam did not necessarily believe it. They continued to tease Base, making him blush. Sa's cell phone then rings, but Base immediately grabs it and rejects the call. When he heard a voicemail notification that came into Sa's cell phone, Base immediately deleted the voicemail. Not long after, Sa's cell phone rang again. Base picked it up and immediately hung up. Seeing Base's attitude, Sa felt very irritated because Base presumptuously took her cell phone. But Base argued that the phone call was unimportant and asked her to eat and take care of her health. Jane and Mam, who saw this, were jealous because Base was very concerned about Sa. Base then left with Sa's cell phone, and after he had gone far enough, Sa only realized that her cell phone was taken away. The next day, Sa disguises herself as a high school student and goes to Base's school. Win and Ard, who saw Sa, immediately realized that Sa was not a student at their school. Base then tells his two friends that Saw is actually an office worker and disguised as a student at their school because she has fallen in love with him. Of course, Saw was angry with Base because it wasn't like that. Saw's arrival to school is to retrieve her cell phone, which Base took away. Base then introduces Saw to Win and Ard. But shortly after, the school bell rang and the principal ordered the students to line up in the field. Saw was about to run away, but Base grabbed her hand and asked her to line up in the field according to the principal's instructions. After that, Saw asked for her cell phone back, but Base refused to give it. Both were caught by the principal for not entering the classroom and attending lessons. Base then invites Saw to run away from the pursuit of the principal. They ran down the school corridor holding hands, then hid in the science lab room. Saw then told Base that she often spent her free time in the science lab during school. She also remembered her past, when she often observed Om playing basketball from the science lab. Not long after, the principal entered the science lab room, so Saw and Base immediately went into hiding. Saw didn't notice that her wallet had fallen as they sneaked out of the room. After successfully evading the pursuit of the principal, Base then invites Saw to play basketball. Base then took Saw to the science lab room to look for her wallet. Base then returned Saw's cell phone and left immediately. While looking for her wallet, Saw received a call from Base asking her to look out the window, where he was standing in the field singing a love song for her. After that, the science lab room suddenly became pitch black and a colorful star-shaped light flashed. Apparently, Base had prepared everything with the help of Win and Ard. After that, Base confessed his love for Saw. Base didn't want to compare himself to Om. But he wanted Saw to forget Om. Base said he wanted to be Saw's boyfriend who would always care for her. Saw then replied that being friends can also care for and love each other. But Base insisted on being Saw's boyfriend and then kissed her, and Saw was speechless, but she didn't deny that she felt happy when Base kissed her gently. Base and Saw finally officially started dating and started to love each other without hesitation. Saw goes back to the analogy of love and the bus, where if love is like waiting for a bus, then every minute that passes is very appropriate for her. The bus is here now, just like her love. She decided to get on the bus and start her journey. Jane and Mam looked both surprised and happy to see the change in Saw, where she no longer felt depressed and sad thinking about her one-sided love for Om. Base and Saw lived their relationship with love and happiness. They rode the bus together, talked at length on the phone, and visited each other's schools and offices to meet and unwind. Jane and Mam finally find out who Base is and try to advise Saw about their age gap. Jane said that high schoolers are usually never serious about romantic relationships, where they will easily get bored and look for other prettier women. Mam then quipped Saw about people's morals and perceptions because Saw's age is much older than Base. Not only that, Jane and Mam also discussed marriage, where if Saw continued their relationship with Base, they would wait at least 10 years for Base to be ready to marry her. However, Saw's age at that time was not considered good enough to marry and have children because she was considered too old. That evening, Saw was sitting pensively at the bus stop when Base appeared. He offered to bring Saw's bag, but she refused. Saw then tells Base that Jane and Mam already know him as a high school student. She then told Base that they should think about each other's future and mentioned their very different personalities and mindsets. Base said that he didn't understand, and Saw thought that Base might be too young to not think about the future. Base refuted Saw's words and said he had thought about his future. After graduating from high school, he plans to continue his education to university, take up his father's business, then marry Saw, and have 2 children. Base then added that some things in life cannot be determined by himself, like when he was born and who his parents were. However, there are other things that he can decide for himself, such as who he will marry, and he has already decided that he will marry Saw. Saw looks teary-eyed hearing Base's words. She was touched that Base had thought ahead and planned everything, which indicated that he was more mature than his age. Base then took Saw to his house, where he was waiting for a man who a tall and burly person escorted. The man then hit Base, and Saw was about to retaliate before Base stopped her and said that the man was his father. Base's father asked Base about Saw and he told him that Saw was his friend. The man then scolded Base and warned him, then just walked away. After that, Base drove Saw home and told her that his father behaved like that after his mother died, where his father always wanted to rule his life but never introspected himself and always thought he was the most righteous. One day, Om returns to Sa's life, where Om says that he never loved Pam and was forced to marry her because she was pregnant with another man and he didn't want to take responsibility. Om admits that he actually fell in love with Sa. Sa seemed surprised by all of Om's confession and instead told Base about it. Om understood that Sa might not be able to take his confessions and feelings for granted. Even so, he was relieved to have revealed everything. Om then asked Sa to think of him as a brother or a friend so that Sa wouldn't feel awkward around him. Sa doesn't agree and tries to accept Om's presence back in her life, even though she now loves Base. Long story short, when Om took Sa, Jane, and Mam to a nightclub, Pam was also there. Likewise, Base and his two friends filled the event by playing a band. Pam doesn't seem to like the closeness of Sa and Om. When Sa went on stage at the urging of her friends, Base then kissed her in front of everyone before being led away by two burly men who turned out to be Pam's orders. After that, Pam took Base away in her car, where she still gave Sa an annoyed look. Om then comes and tells Sa that the father of the fetus that Pam is carrying is Base's father. That was the reason why Base had tried to warn Sa about Pam as well as Om. Pam brought Base before his father, where the father apparently already knew about Base and Sa's love affair. Base's father, who was against Base and Sa's relationship, then asked him to leave Sa and threatened to hurt Sa if he didn't comply. Om then drove Sa to Base's father's place and wished her good luck to pursue and get her love. Sa also said the same thing to Om after realizing that Om really cared about Pam and loved her for who she was. Sa got out of the car and saw Base leaving with his father. She then chased after him, running as fast as she could, not caring about her shoes or her dropped bag. On the other hand, Base couldn't help but cry seeing Sa chasing after him. Actually, he didn't want to leave Sa, but he had to do it to protect her. Base finally got out of the car, met Sa, and asked her to forget about him before returning to the car and continuing the journey with his father. Sa could only cry sadly seeing Base's departure, where it was their last meeting because Base moved schools abroad after that. Long story short, 5 years have passed since Sa and Base's last meeting. Sa recalled the moment of her togetherness with Base when she took the keychain of her apartment that she had given to Base. Sa fell ill for several days. Her mother sounded worried as they spoke on the phone, but Sa assured her that she was fine. She dreams that Base comes and takes care of her in her illness. The next morning, Sa wakes up and finds a suitcase in her room. She looked happy, thinking that Base had returned. She then looked at the balcony of her room and saw a man standing there. She approached the man and was very surprised to see Base standing in front of her. With tears in her eyes, Sa tucked a white striped tie into Base's collar and they stared at each other without saying a word. But there was a deep longing on both of their faces. Base burst into tears and he immediately hugged Sa tightly, as if he didn't want to leave her again. Sa then hugged Base tightly to make sure that everything wasn't a dream. Through this film, we are shown waiting and chasing love is similar to waiting and chasing a bus. When we get the right bus, it doesn't mean our journey will be smooth to the point. Sometimes, we will find a lot of obstacles that we must pass. And when we are sure that the bus is the right bus, we have to chase it until we get it. No matter how tired we are to run or hear the taunts of the people around us, we have to keep chasing the bus. It's the same with love.